Hi, I'm Jeanne Fiorini. Thanks for being here at the Tarot Tips. Today we're going to look at another subscriber question. This is a pretty interesting query. It's got both some positive things going for it and some challenges, both of which we'll talk about. The query comes from a client or from a subscriber who is curious about how her past life might be informing some of her choices in this life, specifically her feeling or knowing that tarot is part of her calling. Her note indicated that she'd been around tarot cards and astrology for most of her life and has been studying tarot recently and really feels a calling to do it professionally, to provide readings professionally, to learn as much as she can. And so she wants to know how any past life experiences might inform that decision for her. So I gave some thought to how we were going to address this question. So if you've been following the tarot tips at all, you know that it's important to, number one, figure out what you want to, what you really want to know. What's the real question? And then that's going to help you figure out how mechanically you're going to use the cards to address it. And I think I've come up with something useful. We'll see what happens. And so the beauty of this question is that it does put us into the realm of the ethereal, you know, the time warp that we're all a part of, this open fabric of time notion that the past and the present and the future are all kind of intermingling at every moment. So, you know, it's an interesting question. The problem, it's not really a problem, but the issue that we're going to have is verifiability. A lot of times when you do a reading, you can later say, well, that happened or that didn't happen, or she was right about that, or he was totally wrong about that, you know, whatever it was. This is a case where it's going to be up to the client really in her own inner resonance to make that determination whether what we come up with, whatever we come up with on the table, is true for her or not. There isn't going to be probably any external reality or experience that's going to say, that's just what she said was going to happen. So with that in mind, let's address the query. Okay, so I've got all the cards here out on the table. I didn't put them all in frames since we're going to pull some out here. What I think we're going to do is draw a couple of cards for any pieces of her past life experience that might be relevant. Pull a couple of cards there, and then we're going to pull a couple of cards for her current life experience, see what we see there, and then I'm going to pull a bridge card. So I think we'll do 3 cards for her past life, what might be informing her current experience. And then we'll pick 3 more for what's going on for her now that might be kind of folding in or reflecting or relating to that experience. And then we're going to pull a bridge card. What's a link? What's a connector between the past and the present? So this is a good example of making up a layout or making up a method. You know, there's all that talk about what's a layout, what's a spread. Let's use the word method. We're using a method here to hopefully get us some information that will shed some light on our querence question. So let's see what we see for the past cards. 8 of Swords, 10 of Wands, and the Star card. Well, you know, we sort of have free reign here to say whatever we want because it's not going to be provable. You know, nobody can say that's true or that's not true. So I'm just going to kind of tell you what that says to me off the top of my head. And I really here would support and encourage people to write their comments here about their possible interpretations of either side, particularly the past life side here, for this question. So I would look at that and say, that's somebody who maybe knew that they had some insight and didn't have any place to use it. That's somebody who's maybe stymied. You know, this could be somebody where there were cultural taboos around it. I better not say what I really think. There's no point in getting involved here. and then hoping for a better life in the future. That's the first thing that comes to my head. Somebody who was restricted in some way, either within themselves, like didn't have the courage, didn't feel that they were capable enough, or that there were cultural or society taboos on such things, and there was going to be hell to pay if something was said inappropriately. So this all this tied up business here, this restriction stuff. I'm pretty sure people are going to see the burned at the stake thing there. That could be in there, but let's try to keep the interpretation broad in terms of she probably had some things she wanted to say but felt that she could not, and hoped that maybe things would someday be different and someday be better. I think she probably tried to do what she could with that star card, but maybe didn't use her words, maybe went about trying to make things better in a different way. So let's see what the current situation is. Knight of Swords, Empress, Knight of Cups. Okay, each of these knights converging there onto that Empress card. Let me get it better into the frame. We see a much more sense of groundedness there with this Empress. We see somebody much more comfortable in her world. The Knight of Swords really feels like a carryover from this can't talk Eight of Swords into the Knight of Swords, which is very much about I always think of that card specifically as the communicator, Knight of Swords. So there's definitely information being, I don't know if I want to say fed, but available to this person. The Knight of Cups would imply compassion. It would imply, I would say, a spiritual connection, a heartfelt connection. So we get this heart and head. Both of these are knights, stating the obvious there. So the knights, are the explorers. They're not the experts. They're the, I'm going to give you this thread and you take it and do what you want with it. Here's something for you to check out. Tell me what you think about that. So I would say that this person enters in, or at this point in her experience, has developed a pretty solid sense of self. I might wonder if she had a connection with her personal mother. That's the archetype of the mother, the Empress there. Or if there's some sort of family, whether it's genetic or not, but some transmitted through the women in her family sense of having this ability, this talent, this skill. So let's see what that bridge card is. Let's see if I have anything else off the top of my head there. I don't, but please feel free to add your comments there. I'm sure there's lots of information just in the context of what we're doing here. I don't want to spend too much time hemming and hawing about the interpretation. I think it's more important here to talk about how we might address such a question and let you go to your own devices with that. Oh, the bridge card is the Death card. So to me, that might reinforce that notion that there was a price to pay in a past life for knowing maybe what you shouldn't say, knowing things that you shouldn't say. But I also think kind of more on a general level, that the Death card would indicate that whatever past experience needs to be left in the past. That was then and this is now. That there's some things to not get over, but to overcome. To really not let hold you back anymore. That Death card shows the old ego, and that's what this king is under the horse, being run over. So whatever this experience was, if it was painful, if it was restricting, the Death card really would say that it's time to transform that. It's time to bring that into a different light. It's time to I don't want to say bygones be bygones, but the past is in the past, and work with what you have now. So that's a very interesting bridge card there. You get a major arcana card in each of the camps. You get the Star card in the past, you get the Empress in the present, and the Death card as the bridge card. So even if you paid attention to those 3 cards, you know, what sorts of additional information could you glean? If you looked at just the minor arcana cards, if you just looked at those cards of the past and these cards of her present experience, what might you get? Okay, either way, it tells a really interesting story. I appreciate the subscriber sending in the question, and I encourage other people to do so in the future. Till next time, I'm Jeanne Fiorini, and thanks for being here.